Okay, good evening, councillors and staff. Welcome to the Finance Strategy and Management Committee meeting, 25th of May. Item 1 on the agenda is the election of chair. I would like to propose from the chair, Councillor Ian Reisman. Do we have a second for that?
I will second.
Do you second? Thank you, Councillor Gadishak. Any other nominations? All in favour of Councillor Reisman? Thank you.
Well done.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, councillors, for voting me in again for another year as Chair of Finance Strategy and Management. Item number 2, election of Vice Chair. I'd like to propose Councillor Rowland for Vice Chair. You second that? Councillor Gadishak, second that. Are there any other nominations? I don't see any. All's in favour of Councillor Rowland. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I look forward to continuing to work with you.
You too.
Apologies for absence. Who's going to be apologies for?
We have apologies from Councillor Ken Arlett, and I believe Councillor Cook is substituting.
Yeah, I'm not actually.
You're not Councillor Arlett?
No, but I'm just substituting.
Yeah, well good, thank you. Declarations of interest. To receive any interest relating to the business to be transacted this meeting. Councillor Thomas.
I'd like to declare a keen interest in item number 9, expenditure C, deputy mayor allowance. I won't be speaking or voting on that item.
Yeah, okay. I'll just wait for Councillor Yes to take her seat.
Apologies, Lorraine. If you'd be able to sit back at that table.
Yeah.
Thank you.
If you stay to one side like you are, then
Yeah.
our audience can see. We were just doing declarations of interest. Do you have anything to add?
No.
Public participation. Do we have any questions from anyone in the public? Doesn't look like it. Item number 6, to approve the minutes of the meeting held on the 20th of April.
Just to apologies, the agenda item is slightly wrong, as are the papers. Due to the last meeting not being chorus, it's actually to approve the minutes of the 9th of March 2021 and the notes of the meeting of the 20th of April 2021. Only the minutes of the notes of the 20th of April are included within the papers, although the March ones were included with the last committee papers. If you're happy to approve it in the absence of seeing them at this meeting.
I propose both.
We've had a chance to read both. So, okay, there are any issues of facts or on the actual either of those minutes or notes? And in that case, so you propose, Councillor, that we approve both the minutes and the notes of those two meetings. Councillor Gadishak, you second that? Okay, all those in favour? Thank you very much. To receive the dashboard papers, management account, summary of sewer expenditure, investment performance updates, bank reconciliation, summary.
Missed an item.
Oh, sorry, working groups. Indeed, I know, yes. Okay, so there are two working groups that we need to appoint membership of. So firstly, the 353-357 Brennan Road. That project is continuing. That working group does need to be formed, and for the last year, the membership was Councillor Arlett, myself, Councillor Hamilton, and Councillor Hooper.
And Councillor Clark.
And Councillor Clark. Oh, right, he was a member, right? Okay. Yeah, I apologise, he was Councillor Clark. Can I have a proposal for membership of that committee then? Councillor Gadishak.
Can I propose the same name, please?
Assuming everyone is happy
I'll
to.
second that.
Yeah, okay. I would like to add that Councillor Thomas joins that group. Can, please? Can, you're agreeable to that?
Yeah, I'm happy to attend, as long as I'm available.
Yeah, no, I understand. I mean, I don't work in Henley or have difficulties attending meetings during the day, but we try our best to fit people in. But I think it would that group would benefit from your being part of it. So
Who would come off it?
no, I think we'll
So
go.
we get the same balance, and the same numbers. There's 5 people.
Some preference same, haven't they?
It's 5 people. Makes right.
The terms of reference are at least 4 councillors. It's at least 3 to be 4 of us, at least 4 councillors.
Yeah, so
Although it should be politically balanced.
it's 4-2, so that is.
It is. It isn't. Apologies. Thank you very much.
It's a bit overbalanced, actually.
Yeah, I was going to
But unless we
that's a better balance.
unless we cut Councillor Hamilton in half, we won't be able to do anything about it.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so we have 6 members, and that's in accordance with the terms of reference. So, can I propose? We had a proposal, and as amended. Sorry, all in favour of amended proposal. Thank you. Do we need to approve the terms of reference?
Yes,
We
please.
do. Okay, so I have a proposal that we approve the terms of reference and as on the agenda. Councillor Plant and Councillor Hamilton, all those in favour? Thank you. Next we have the value for money working group. I was trying to remember who was on that last year. I think it was myself, Councillor Hinton, Councillor Plant, Councillor Hillier. I think maybe those 4 were there. Okay.
5 councillors in terms of reference, there must be a 5th.
You're on as well. Is there a 5th? It probably was, yes.
I think so.
Yeah. I don't know if Councillor Arnott wants to continue on that. I haven't checked with him. So we have. Is everyone who's here willing to continue on that group? I haven't checked with Councillor Hinton yet, but I believe she would.
Oh, I'm quite happy to do the 5th.
Sorry?
I'm quite happy to do the 5th on that group.
In addition to.
Instead of Councillor Arla. It's 5 councillors on the terms of reference.
I wouldn't want to leave Councillor Arnott off without offering him a chance to continue. He may decide he wants to do that as mayor.
I'll leave it.
So, can we make it a recommendation that Councillor Arnott stays on with the remaining 4 and leave full council and make partition at full council?
The decision should be made by this committee.
Okay.
There would be nothing to stop the committee obviously placing Councillor Arla on the working group, and then if at a later date he wished to come off it, the committee could reconsider.
We'll do that. Okay. So I propose that we have the same time as last year. Yeah. Councillor Gash, second.
I'll second
that. As well. Okay. All's in favour of that. And the terms of reference shall consist of 5, so we're okay with that. You're proposing that we accept them, Councillor Plant. Okay, second of that, Councillor Gavashak. All those in favour? The other working group that this that is generally part of appointed by this committee is the legal and HR group. But we tend to appoint that when an issue comes up which needs to be formed. So I suggest that we don't do that at this point. There's no immediate issues coming up, as you might guess from the record shortness of the legal update that the town clerk has prepared for us. There are obviously a few legal issues at the moment. Okay, so that's the working groups. Finance, to receive the papers, as I read out earlier. Don't have any specific comments on that, so shall we receive them en bloc? Councillor Gage. All those in favour of that? Thank you. Item 9, to approve the following items of expenditure. So, these are decisions made by other committees that we need to approve the expenditure for. So £200 from SIL, for the diffusion tubes. This seems fine. Councillor Gabriel.
Yes, could I propose that, in fact, great credit should go to David Dickey, well, and Kath as well, but David Dickey for, no, Fiona and David Dickey. David Dickey has found out, sorry, forgot about this bit, has found out locations in the town that we need more readings from. We have the readings from the particular members of town at the bottom of Grace Road, and as you can see, for 6, I think there are 5 locations and 6 months. It costs 200 quid for the emergent tubes. So it's very good value for money. That's including analysis, and of course the results will be reported back to the Transport Strategy Group. Thank you. So I propose this, please.
Second, Councillor Okay. And I think this is fairly straightforward, but I would like to pay tribute to David Dickey for the work he's done over quite a few years now on many different aspects of air quality and transport in the town. He's made a very significant difference to the practical measures that we've been able to take to address the issues of air quality, which, as we all know, is a serious problem in the centre of the town. Okay, so all's in favour of that proposal? That's carried. Item number 9B, £3,730 from CapEx on grade equipment. So this is from R&A. Councillor Crook, would you like to speak to this?
I propose that because it's a much needed piece of equipment and both A is the cheapest, so I recommend we go with that. It's what is recommended.
Okay. That's fine. You seconding that?
Yes, second that.
So no comments. All those in favour of that proposal? 9C, Deputy Mayor allowance. We made a resolution some time ago, about 18 months ago, that there would be a Deputy Mayor's allowance, in which up to £2,000 could be claimed against expenses. And I'd like to suggest that remains the same as our policy. There are good reasons for that. Councillor Hunt.
Yeah, I'm going to speak against that to an extent. The Mayor's allowance is right, the Mayor should have an allowance, and the Deputy Mayor attends an event on behalf of the Mayor, and therefore that money should come out of the Mayor's allowance. Now what you set the Mayor's allowance is up to you, but the Deputy Mayor, because the Deputy Mayor never attends an event with the Mayor, but attends on behalf of the Mayor, then that money should come from the Mayor's allowance. That's what happened when I was Deputy Mayor. My total costs for the whole year were £350, to give you a guide. I submitted that in a spreadsheet to Julian Brooks, and he paid it out of his Mayor's allowance. And I believe that's the way to go. So I don't mind what you set the Mayor's allowance to be, but I believe the Deputy Mayor should claim from that Mayor's allowance, rather than having a separate allowance, given that that person, whoever they may be, would be attending on behalf of the Mayor.
I think that you're discussing the second half of this 9C really, which is future, what should happen in the future. What we're looking at here is, as I was suggesting, that we do not review the previous years.
Sorry. My apologies, but I completely forgot. As you have a pecuniary interest, if you wouldn't mind leaving the room, Councillor Thomas.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Apologies.
I mean, I was just not going to speak, but that's fine.
It's probably safer to leave the room. Sorry to make you feel unwelcome, but someone will come and get you back
Yeah, okay.
at the end of the item, which hasn't always been done in the past. Councillor.
Can I speak to Councillor Hamilton?
Yeah.
Councillor Hamilton, not many people are as fortunate as you to have such a wide range of clothing, and maybe for women or other people that are not so fortunate, they are grateful of the Deputy Mayor's allowance. So that's probably why yours only came to £350, because you're able to afford to, you'll probably already have those clothes in your wardrobe. You know, but for ladies and other people, it will cost us more. Okay, So you're very privileged and very lucky. It may not affect you.
I will come back on that point if I may, Mr. Chair.
I'm going to let someone else speak first. Councillor Gavin, has already spoken.
Well, I want to separate this out. I mean, it seems to be a debate here, aligning the allowance and making the recommendation on a ex gratia allowance. So I would like to just stick with the resolution that we've already passed, which is a perfectly reasonable resolution. That, Chair, if you will remind me of the date when we passed the resolution at some point.
We're going to ask you that.
Well, at some point, we passed a resolution, we recognised that in fact the Deputy Mayor does have to fulfil duties. And for an allowance, I think it was up to £1,000.
Yes, up to 1,000.
Up to £1,000, provided receipts were put in. Now that is perfectly reasonable. If the Deputy Mayor substitutes for the Mayor or does something on two duties, doesn't have to substitute because he could go to one event and go to another one. Then if he or she, just to be absolutely right, if he or she incurs expenses, quite rightly, they are representative of the town and we should pay them. But it should be absolutely on receipt of bills, invoices, etc. If you do so many miles, you claim. If you have to have a lunch included, you claim. If you buy a raffle ticket, you claim. And it's perfectly reasonable to do that. So I would like to make a proposal. And the proposal is that we stick with the resolution that we've already passed, that it's £1,000 on proof of production of receipts. And if that's seconded, I think I've already spoken.
Let Town Clerk respond to these clearly goals.
Thank you very much. The point I would make is the resolution that was made actually has no effect. Any councillor is able to claim expenses for any costs incurred during council business or undertaking council business. Therefore, in theory, the Deputy Mayor could claim an unlimited amount in that respect, along with any other councillor. Therefore, you don't need a separate resolution for that item. All I would say is that actually councillors here very rarely claim any expenses whatsoever. So the cost to the community from for councillors working themselves is very, very low.
I'll just come back on that as it's a new point. I think the Deputy Mayor is in a different position. I think I would like to stick with the resolution. We passed a resolution giving the £1,000, and if the Deputy Mayor wants to claim on that for legitimate business on production of receipt, it's happening. So I stick with my proposal.
I think Councillor Gilliam was first, and I'll come to you, Councillor.
I was just going to point out, I know it's the district council, but if we look at the district council, they pay, the chairman of the council gets £5,084. And the truth is, that's an awful lot more gala events, etc. Life may have changed now, I don't know, than what it is for the Mayor of Henley. And they only get that. But the vice chairman does get 1,526, because although the vice chairman there steps in for the chairman, there are some events that fall on the same day, and it means that each comes. So the vice chairman doesn't necessarily just substitute the chairman. In a sense they do, but they might be at the same, on that same date at different events. And I take on board about the clothing, and it is a lot more expensive for a woman. Equally on that, you could also claim your travel expenses as well, as in line with any other councillor. But I think it's fair that the chairman and the mayor and the deputy mayor do get a salary, actually allowance.
Yeah, you made some good points there. Councillor Hampton, you want to come back?
Well, I would support Councillor Gavashak's amended proposal. I was going to come back on the points that Councillor Crook made. I would just point out that in my year it came to £350 I then became mayor-elect. I then bought a suit and a pair of shoes. I didn't claim for them at all. Okay, so let's make that point. I'm not.
I think
privileged
you're
or
making
underprivileged.
Councillor Crook's point that you could afford not to claim, whereas other people might not be able to. I'd like to, so there is a proposal that we stick as a matter of policy to the proposal that was passed by this committee, I think it was about a year ago, that up to £1,000 of expenses can be claimed by the Deputy Mayor. I'd like to suggest that we stick with that decision for the year that's just finished, because we made a decision and that was a sensible process. I think Councillor Hilliard made a very good case for having a deputy mayor allowance that's awarded on the same basis as the mayor's allowance, in that costs are incurred of various sorts. It's less for the mayor because there are fewer occasions that the very busy mayor enjoys attending, and I think that's a reasonable and fair thing. And many councils do this without difficulty. And I think that would be a simpler and fairer solution. And the main reason to do this is, or the main moral reason, in my opinion, is that if people lose money by being mayor or deputy mayor, or any other role, then you are making it harder for people who are less well off to occupy those roles. And I don't think that's fair or right. I think mayoralty and other civic duties should be done on a diverse basis, which doesn't rule people out. So I would like for this year and for future for an allowance of £1,000 per year, rising with inflation, to be given the same basis as the mayor's allowance. Which would mean you have to withdraw your.
No, well, that's the point. I'm not going to withdraw, and I'm not going to nominate. If there is a proposal in the future to actually change it to an allowance of £1,000, then it's properly put on the order paper and properly debated. But that will be at the next meeting, not this meeting.
Well, that's exactly what's on the agenda.
Well,
it says to align the allowance procedure with the mayor's allowance.
And make a recommendation on the retrospective.
Yeah, well, that is a separate matter. I suggest we don't change the retrospective rules.
I'm saying I've made a proposal, which is to stick with the resolution.
Yep.
I'm sorry, Chair, I'm not going to change.
No, that's fine. You're entitled to stick to your guns.
If in a subsequent meeting someone comes forward with another solution, then fine.
Okay, let's try and wrap up two votes. I think we're moving. Councillor Plant.
In support of exactly what Councillor Yamchak and yourself and certain of the councillors spoke with, just to follow up on Sharon's, at the moment, if any councillor can claim any expenses they incur anyway, what is the point in having the allowance anyway?
The point of having an allowance is that you only have to be able to show that you have spent that sort of amount of money incurred in your duties. You don't have to submit a particular claim with receipt. You simply receive the allowance as of right and have to show that it's. But you may be asked for a receipt just to show that maybe the town clerk shows this one.
If you're submitting a receipt anyway, then they're one and the same thing, and you can spend whatever you want.
Certainly. So the chair is correct. It is almost for simplicity. If you are the mayor and attending many events throughout the year, then the administrative burden of submitting those claims or whatever is quite burdensome. So the idea is that this makes it simpler, basically, by one lump sum which is paid, or actually it's paid in two lump sums, I should say, throughout the year. It's easier administratively.
Yeah, but so that's perfect. Then, as is, no one would be prohibited from doing or claiming something anyway. It would just be a more laborious process.
It can be difficult to claim expenses. One thing you buy an awful lot of as a mayor is raffle tickets. And you tend not to ask someone at a civic dinner for a receipt for your raffle. I mean, I'll give you a hint here. So there are practicalities about moving to an allowance rather than an expense system, which is a little bit different. I'm going to try and move to a vote at the moment, So Councillor Hillier,
Yeah, I was only just going to say quickly as well, it's better to have the money there with you, the allowance, because if you've got to go out and buy an expensive outfit for an occasion like the regatta or something, and you're not having to buy it yourself and then claim it back, you've got that money there because it might be something you wouldn't wear in your normal day-to-day life, for instance. So I think it is necessary.
right, Councillor Gaffney, I'm going to let you.
Thank you. Just a quick sum up. My proposal was to stick with the resolution we had a year ago. And fine, if people think that the deputy mayor needs an allowance, and so I'm going to stick with the proposal, and I don't think it is too onerous to actually claim receipts for the deputy mayor because they attend fewer functions than the mayor. It would be onerous for the mayor, absolutely. If, by members of the committee, if people wish to think that a deputy mayoral allowance of £1,000 is put on the agenda paper, then fine, we'll have to vote that. And I can see merits either way, basically. So I propose that we stick with the resolution of a year ago. Thank you.
Okay, so you're debating for the status quo. Okay. Those in favour of that proposal? 1, 2, 3, 4. We've got 5. Those 6. Those against? 2. Motion is carried.
I don't get.
Oh, yeah. Okay, Shelley.
We haven't finished the next bit yet.
I think, I don't think that,
Shall I get it now?
I think we've completed this item now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's going to happen?
9C. So there's basically we've decided to keep the status quo both for the previous civic year and the future civic years.
There's a comma and there's then and make recommendation.
Yeah.
So I think you need to discuss that.
No, the recommendation was to remove that.
I think that the proposal covers both those things. So it's the status quo both for the previous year and the forthcoming year. Okay, risk assessment. To approve and review and approve the council's strategic risk assessments as on page 43 to 50 of your agenda. Would anyone like to comment and make a proposal on this?
I just thank all the officers' work for putting it together.
Yeah, I'd like to thank and propose that we accept the Sheridan put this together, propose that we accept and adopt the strategic risk assessment for this year. You're a second to that. It gets harder and harder every year to pick something out. And I thought you defeated me this year, Sheridan. I'm pleased to say that I have discovered that the fourth item under number 1 people and the second item on the final page is a duplicate. So members acting on travaris. And I think that should stay under the finance and legal rather than the people. You may say that it should apply in both.
So I believe it is yes. So it is there is the. Sorry, I just need to double check.
Yes, it's on the last page.
I believe there was a reason why it was in there twice, but there are 2 risks arising from the same activity.
Okay.
But I would need to double check that.
Yeah. It does. It's not unreasonable to keep it in as it is. There is a difference between members acting in a way that's ultra-vires and the council as a whole. Although you may, it is possible that officers can. I think that was the intention of perhaps the last one.
Well, and with, sorry, excuse me, Chair, I'm with the town clerk on this. I think he's admirably explained the position. I didn't quite understand it, but it was very, very good.
He's convinced me. So yes, I propose that we adopt it as on the agenda. Any other comments? All those in favour? Thank you.
Does that mean the town clerk won that point?
Yes.
It does kind of say that one is more members and then one is councillors, so that could be, the actions are subtly.
It is nice for you to speak, isn't it?
It is, yes. Well, this is the same format really as it's been for a number of years now. So we have this shortened form which on your agenda is like pages 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59. And this is a statutory form that we have to send to the external auditors for their approval. And the only page of figures is page 58 on the agenda. So on here we have figures for our reserves and for what our receipts and payments were during the year. The figures they include capital expenses and receipts. So they're not figures that you see anywhere in your management accounts, but they have to be done in this way in order to complete the AGAR. But on page 60, in tiny writing, is how I've got those figures, if anybody was minded to sort of check what I've done in getting those figures. So they work themselves back to the accounts via that page there. Then the full accounts are pages 61 onwards, and they're in a very similar format to in previous years with figures that councillors have recognised from the management accounts. So we're not asking for approval here, but we're asking for recommendation for full council to approve these various documents. So there's the AGAR, the full accounts, and at the end there's the internal auditor's final visit, or virtual visit. So his report is the last few pages, and just as his report to approve that as well. And he's already completed his section of the annual return. So all that he's doing at full council is for all these documents to be approved and then sent off to the external auditor and we're done.
And this is a formal process which we're obliged to go through, approving our accounts and then submitting. Right, I'm going to suggest that we take these all three together, or would you prefer separate proposals?
It is fine at this meeting to take all three together. They need to be separate for council.
Okay. So I propose that we can take all the recommendations of 551, 52, 53, 54 and 55, and I propose that that is the recommendation made for this.
I'll second that. That's the recommendation for council.
Yes, with regards to the numbers on page 58 and on page 60, I asked Liz about those last year, and it went on from one to the other, and that was a mistake because she told me. It took a while. I don't know how this keeps track of it. It's very impressive, and she does a great job in managing these accounts. Thank you to Liz for doing that. Any other comments? The only thing I would say is that although it is an audited financial statement that's in page 61 onwards, it contains quite a lot of interesting things about what we do, and it's more, again, credit to Liz for doing this, it's a lot more readable than you might expect if you go through it, if you want to understand what activities the council does and what they cost. So I think it is presented in a very readable format. As I say, page 60, I wouldn't say that's all. Okay, are there any other comments, or shall we move to approve these on those? Okay, all those in favour? Thank you. That's unanimous. Right, item number 12, exclusion of public and press. To consider that the public and press be excluded from the remainder of the meeting in accordance with the Public Bodies Additions to Meetings Act 1960, as publicity will be prejudicial to the public interest by reason of the confidential nature of the business. So, seconded by Councillor Plant, all those in favour?